Now, what's interesting is I had Dr. Michael Sala on my show about a year or so ago, and we were talking, and there's one question asked, and he asked, "What's the currency utilized in the universe? What's the currency?" And Michael Sala said, without hesitation, DNA. The DNA is the cryptocurrency of the universe because each DNA is unique unto itself. It has its own cryptographic code base within it, which means that it all has a value to anybody who studies DNA. And out there in the universe, this is the valuable currency that's out there. And so we're coming into Red October. We see Donald Trump is making certain moves. Uh, a lot of the rumors are declass. Now, we've got a lot of indications this could be.
Well, good afternoon, folks. We got Joshua Reid from redpills. Is it .com or is it
Red Pills TV?
redpills.tv. Okay, there you go. Joshua, I've been following him for a little while on Rumble, and he is definitely my brother from another mother. You know what I mean? And bottom line is, we're all looking into all these conspiracy stuff and the XRP and the financial climate that we got going on. But before we get started, folks, please don't forget, hit the pause button, go over to Rumble and follow us in Rumble, okay? Share us on your social media, and also don't forget, you got to decorate yourself with the merch, okay? Because you need people to ask you, what is Gesara and Nesara? What is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is redpills.tv? And then you could tell them, and you send them to where? QFS1776.com. QFS1776 is the holy grail of what's to come. So if you want to learn how to charter these waters that are coming, I highly urge you to go. It's free. We don't charge you anything. Okay. We've taken some of the most elementary videos and put them in a chronological order that a 14-year-old or a 75-year-old grandmother can understand. It's coming. We're burning down the old system. We're never going back. The quantum financial system's upon us. Joshua, welcome, brother. Welcome to the show. I've been watching you. You're amazing. You and I think a lot alike. Let's try to keep our language a little bit under the radar. If it gets over the radar, no worries. We'll just make a little piece of this. We'll go on YouTube, and the rest of it, the uncensored version, will be specifically on Rumble. So welcome, brother. Let's talk about Red October. Let's talk about Gesara and Nesara. Let's talk about blockchain. Let's talk about digital assets. I understand you think that there's going to be something happening in September. September's almost gone. It's the 22nd today. Tell us a little bit of what you think is going to happen.
Well, I followed this mysterious letter of the alphabet for a very long time.
Oh, the 17th letter?
Yeah, the 17th letter. So I followed that letter for a while. I was one of the first people out there on the Reddit boards and Twitter doing those decode types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I really didn't believe in it too much. It was kind of just like a novelty. And then some certain events happened. So I started paying attention, and I started breaking down the code. I'm former military. I served 10 years in the United States Navy. Got out and became an entrepreneur, started businesses, worked for some big corporations, this type of thing. And then really kind of got into this whole movement. Now, I've been doing a lot of this stuff for a very long time in the sense of research and investigation into what is known as occultism, magic, esotericism, in these types of topics. I've been doing that since the 1990s. And I never thought that there'd be a cross correlation between all of these until like in the early 2000s, I saw a documentary by my good friend, who's now my good friend, Ben Stewart, called Esoteric Agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of really broke it down. And then when the 17th letter stuff came up, it started basically hitting a lot of those points pertaining to what is kind of unfolding in the world. Now, with the things that have happened recently, I mean, September, we've already had some major milestone events happen in September. But I want people to understand that the people we're dealing with, the people that are operating this evil global cabal, okay, these people are what we would call dark occultists or dark magicians. They're incredibly ritualistic, and they do everything that they do with a purpose and a motivation, right? To give everybody an idea is whenever people have been told about magic, whether it's the Harry Potter stuff and everything like that, it's all just kind of fluff to what is really going on. The whole world of occultism, magic, esotericism is really a tool. And people need to understand that when we interact with reality, that we change reality. is that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. People for thousands of years have basically observed reality and observed the reactions of how reality interacts with their mind, their consciousness, their thoughts, their actions, or whatever it might be. And this has developed the foundation of what we call today as magic. And so when these people do things, they do things very specifically. Now, if you remember, July 8th, Shibo Abe, the former prime minister of Japan, was assassinated. Okay, August 8th, we had Mar-a-Lago raided. September 8th, the queen, who's been dead for a while, died, right? October 8th is yet to come, but then November 8th is the midterm elections. What is going on with this number 8? See, the number 8 is very, very significant here. Do you remember the Travis Scott concert that went all the heck?
Absolutely.
Okay, so many people are saying, well, those people were trampled and that's why they're dying. We were watching this in real time as it was happening. People were publishing videos directly to Twitter, live streaming, all of this. We were watching it. People in the audience who were standing with nobody around them started having seizures and would pass out and die. Now, it's interesting because these seizures that they were having, Mel, were very similar. I don't know if you've seen these videos coming out of China right now. The people looking off to the right, and all of a sudden they spin around in circles. It looks like they're fighting something off, and they fall down on the ground and start having seizures and dying. It's the same thing that was happening at the Travis Scott concert. Now, the Travis Scott concert is riddled with various dark occult symbology. You had the mouth of ball, which everybody enters into. You had Travis Scott, which did the concert on the anniversary date of a Pearl Jam concert, which had the figure 8 on the concert. We knew that there's various symbology deriving from the figure 8. Now, the figure 8 in ancient symbology represents what we call an analemma. An analemma is an observational perspective of the movement of heavenly bodies. And if you looked at the sun every day through the 365.25 degree journey that it goes through the sky, if you looked at it at noon, it would actually form a figure 8 in the sky. And the bottom would be the winter solstice, the middle would be the 2 equinoxes, and the top would be the summer solstice. And the analemma means beyond God or above God or the expansion of God, okay? And so this is what obviously meta, the word meta, is very similar to this. Meta is another representation of the same number, the same letter, moving everybody into this humanistic agenda that we're seeing. So if you wanted to put a number to transhumanism, just put the number 8. And so this is kind of like their telltale sign. Now, October 8th, I actually think if we go back to the boards of that 17th letter, it talks about the 25th Amendment. I've said that potentially they could pull the 25th Amendment on Joe Biden. I don't know. That's a possibility. But we have some important things actually happening here in the world with these very occultic rituals. Now, the Queen died 1,776 days from the first letter 17 post, which I find quite interesting. They delayed the actual start of the ceremony, which they call the 10 days of procession. It starts at day 0. They delayed that by 1 day. The next day was actually the harvest moon. So she officially died on the harvest moon, which is another aspect of this symbolic nature. She had a ceremony when her casket was laid into the ground known as the breaking of the wand. This is an ancient druidic ceremony that is only performed for high master magicians. In 1952, she was indoctrinated into the druidic traditions before her coronation, and she was given the ceremony of the bards and initiated as a seer. Now, that's interesting as well, because this is kind of, well, I'm going to bring all this together. This is kind of,
I love it. Keep going.
Okay. So basically, when we look at the right to rule, the divine right of kings and queens, this comes from something known as the Hyksos pharaohs in ancient Egypt, who migrated out and went into northern and eastern Europe. And we see this in many of the druidic cults that would derive a lot of their traditions from what we would call ancient Atlantis. Now, the Hyksos pharaohs, so what happened is you had a lineage of bloodlines that derived from them. Well, sometime about 1,000 years ago, various powerful families began infiltrating these bloodlines. This is very similar to the hijacking of the bloodline of David, so on and so forth. And they were basically pirates, and that's what they did. The Kogoltha, the old bloodline of the queen is exactly this. It's one of these pirate bloodlines that basically interjected into the royal lineage. and took it over and basically started hijacking all these other occult organizations and started implementing their own rituals and stealing various symbols and changing information and knowledge. Now, what we look at here, though, is we look at the transition of the age. And this is where everything that's happening right now comes together. And this has been the heart of my research for a very long time. Now, when we look at the global financial reset that the globalists are bringing about, when we look at the perpetuation of World War III, when we look at the mysterious figure on the internet known as that 17th letter, when we look at what's happening in the persecution of Donald Trump, when we look at what we would call the Great Awakening, a lot of these things have happened before. And what I mean by that is everything in our world is cyclic in its nature, and that it goes through these processes. And time, in a sense, is fractal, and it repeats over the various frequencies of those fractals as it moves along. And so there was a ceremony back in 2021, two of them, one in April 4th, 2021, and one on November 22nd, 2021. The first ceremony was the resting of the new kingdom of Egypt. So this is all the new kingdom of Egypt's old pharaohs, and they moved them out of Karnak and moved them to Cairo and put them to rest in a museum. Now, this was interesting because 7 months later, they did another ceremony of the reopening of the King's Road. The reopening of the King's Road, this goes between Karnak and Luxor. Now, what's interesting about these two locations is Karnak is where the sun rises on the winter solstice, and Luxor is where the sun rises on the summer solstice. So it represents this track of the sun through its 6 months of progression. Now, the road itself, known as the King's Road, is 1.7 miles long. 17 or 1.7 is an interesting number, which we're also talking about that other internet figure, but it's also the date of the death of Osiris. It is also the holy number of Osiris. It is the star Sirius, which we get Osiris from, is 1.7 degrees declination. And so this is a very, very important number. Well, they opened this road up. Now, here's the thing, is you won't find anything out there about when this road has ever been opened before, except a few mentions about 2,160 years ago. And what that means is that this road only opens up every 2,160 years. That's a precessional age. That means a transition of one precessional age to the new precessional age. And what they were doing with these two ceremonies, is they laid to rest the old kingdom of Egypt, and they were ushering the new age and the new era with the new kingdom coming in. This is the old guard being put to rest and the new guard coming in. And this is the ritualistic fashion of how these occultists actually operate. And we actually looked at the stars to kind of see how this actually works. And it's interesting because if you look at Earth outside of our galaxy, the Earth will, our solar system would actually do this figure 8 through the galactic center. And so as it takes its 230 million year journey around the galaxy, it's bouncing up and down between the galactic center. And so it does this figure 8 fashion where it's spinning back and down. If you looked exactly where we are right now, we're at December 21st on that schedule, which is the lowest point, the lowest energy point on that cycle, which is also the point of death in 3 days coming into resurrection, the re-rising. And this is why they do these ceremonies specifically like this. Now, given that little bit of occultism, this moves us into what's happening in the world right now. We are truly living in an esoteric agenda where these dark occultists are seemingly trying to undermine humanity's freedom, sovereignty, our God-given rights, and eliminate the majority of the population and usher in a global reign of whatever they want, of their type of occultic agenda. I mean, it's no surprise that they've been running various different types of experiments on humanity for millennia. And whoever these people are, if they're even people at all, I don't know. I mean, you mentioned clones right there. I agree that clones exist. These people, though, I don't think they're human. And I'll be honest with that. I don't think they're human. And the reason is because everything that we're seeing right here, Mel, is a terraforming operation. They are terraforming this planet at the same time eliminating the majority of the population. And to me, that seems like some type of external influence by somebody or something, whether interdimensional, demonic, alien, extra, I don't know. But I think we have a lot of indications that that's potentially what's happening. Now, the perspective of Red October is where we're moving into. Now, a lot of that stuff on those boards from the number 17 talked about future proves the past. This is incredible to understand because if we go back to the last post that happened in June, we start seeing correlations to future events. Dan Scavino posting the white door with 45 on it. We had, and then that correlating directly to that one post that talks about when do you open the front door to let your enemy in, all these things, the Mar-a-Lago raid. And then Donald Trump actually coordinating directly a lot of his post on Truth Social directly to the boards with context, information, and direct timestamps, which is basically a validation that this stuff is really real. And we know that obviously CNN and the news, they're putting out there this one meme that he put out there. We all know what it was with the lapel and the storm, all this stuff. And so this is really real of what they are doing on that level. Now, if you remember, 2 years ago, the former head of the Israeli Space Defense, okay, his last name is Emram. He's 87 years old, said, I have nothing to lose. He came out, talked about Donald Trump communicating with the Galactic Federation, that the Galactic Federation said, hey, look, you know, humanity's not ready, all this different stuff. These were actual events that we found out really happened and were really true, that this is this type of event, these types of things. Now, what's interesting is I had Dr. Michael Sala on my show about a year or so ago, and we were talking, and there's one question asked, and he asked, what's the currency utilized in the universe? What's the currency? And Michael Sala said without hesitation, DNA. The DNA is the cryptocurrency of the universe because each DNA is unique unto itself. It has its own cryptographic code base within it, which means that it all has a value to anybody who studies DNA. And out there in the universe, this is the valuable currency that's out there. And so we're coming into Red October. We see Donald Trump is making certain moves. A lot of the rumors are D-class. Now, we've got a lot of indications this could be Hunter Biden's laptop. This could be Hillary Clinton's emails. This could be Nancy Pelosi's laptop. This could be Wiener's laptop, as well as the Crossfire Hurricane documents from 2016, which basically implicate Obama, Biden, Clinton, Brennan, Rosenstein, McCabe, Strzok, Page, everybody associated with that act of treason. And this is why, obviously, Donald Trump is in that situation. And so Red October, which is interesting because Russia is making its forward progression right now into Ukraine. We know all about Ukraine, how Ukraine is really this, I would call it the capital city of the globalists. This is where all the money